It's 2:01, and I'll call this meeting to, the Finance Committee meeting to order. You want to do the roll call?
Marjorie Bartelli,
Here?
Jenny Norton,
Here.
Liz Sullivan,
Here.
Lorna Turner,
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein,
Here.
Beth McCullen.
Here.
You have an opportunity for any speakers. I don't see any speakers in the room, and probably nobody on the phone. Okay. So I would like a motion to approve the minutes of September 7, 2021, which was the last Finance Committee meeting, I believe.
I move to approve the minutes.
Do I have a
Second.
All those, want to do roll call?
You can.
No
Just open the list
discussion?
here.
No
No
discussion?
discussion.
All right, Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Lorna Turner.
Aye. Okay, and then is Ayers here? No. Oh, I thought they were, oh, I'm sorry, okay.
But there is a memo in the packet.
I thought they were coming.
We can go over that if you want.
Yeah, I think we would like to go over that so we can understand all parts of it.
Okay. So this was just a quick update memo from Ellers. Last week, administration touched base with them to ensure that we're just in line with our plan. And we asked Dawn from Ellers to provide an update memo regarding our funds and how we're going to be paying for construction. And this memo just basically indicates that we're gonna use the proceeds from the debt certificate first, and then anything after that in paying for construction, we'll use the account or fund that has the lowest yield. So it's just basically reiterating what we've already discussed in prior meetings.
Do you have an idea why the thought process is we'd use the funds from the debt service first rather than just using, let's say, our excess funds or the funds that we have? I mean, because obviously we're probably gonna start paying interest on that, or are we already paying interest on the bond?
We are, but that's best practice in
Okay.
terms of.
I think we
Yep.
have to by statute.
Yeah, Tammy explained it previously, that we would use it for there's less compliance work to be done that way.
Okay.
Exactly. And that was it. That was really it. It was just an update from her on that.
Anything, Margie, you had some specific questions?
Well, let me see if I can find one, which may take a bit. And I think I asked at the April 18th board meeting about the investment report. I forget what page it's on, I marked it. Well, you probably don't have that packet. And there's 3 months, of course, we don't know what the investment interest will be. Let me try to find it here.
Are you talking about last board meeting?
Yeah,
Oh.
because I had a question and I thought that you indicated that Ellers would probably answer that for us, but let me find it. Okay, so on page 7, investment activity in the board packet, under investments. We show a total negative of $735,000. Would you like me to show you this?
I'm sorry, Margie. I
It's,
can pass it over to you.
okay. I would like to know where that is reflected in the budget, if at all, and should it be? And another one, I assume that would be reflected at the end of the fiscal year because we have 3 months, we don't know those totals yet. You know, April, May, June. And then it's on page 9 in this packet. I made a note of that for some reason, sorry. Under revenues, special reserve only, interest earned. Is that possibly where it might belong? Now, let me get to my packet for
Page
today.
9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Page 9.
Yeah.
This one.
Oh, you're talking about
The board packet.
No, now I'm talking about
Okay.
today's packet.
Okay.
What I just showed you was the board packet from April 18th. And there's a negative balance.
Okay.
Okay, do you have the board packet from?
Today's?
No, okay, then go to page 9 today and under, where are my notes? Revenues, special reserve only, interest earned.
Okay, that's not on page
That's
nine.
not on page
Sorry.
nine, okay, I'm
Yeah.
That's
confused,
okay.
hold on,
Yeah.
just give me a moment here. Lorna, I mentioned it to you on the phone,
Right, yeah.
and now I'm having trouble reconstructing what my question was.
Interest
In
for
any
special
event,
reserve.
where is
page
that
14.
amount reflected from the board packet? The $735,000?
I can't answer that on the fly right now. I do know that we received information on interest earned from Ellers and just projecting forward.
Okay.
This will be, I mean,
I mean, is that an amount that is in the budget? You know, it may not be, Tatiana.
I'm not kind of putting together what you're talking about from the packet.
Lorna, can you help me out on that?
Well, you've got the maturities and sales at the 5.7, and then your investment purchases at 6.5, so you've got a deficit of 735,000. So what Margie's asking is, where is that reflected in the budget, or will it be reflected within the next 3 months?
Or would it be at all? Because to me, it's a large deficit.
It is, I
And
mean, we've
is-
learned less interest.
No, I understand
sure.
that, for sure, I understand that. But,
And was that built into last year's budget? That was
yeah,
already
yeah, I mean,
interest?
do we take our investment losses or gains into our budget?
Well, we project what our investment firm provides. I mean, we project a lesser amount.
Where is that projection then?
Well, you see, it's the interest earned is like 72% less
Okay.
than last
And
year's
where is that,
budgeted amount.
where is that reflected for my information?
On page, well, in all of the lines that says interest earned, so for example, on page 14,
Page 14.
under
All right.
interest earned under just IMRF tax levy, you can look and see it's 72% less. And under FICA, it's 75% less.
That's what I was referring to, page 14. So the interest earned. Okay, that answers my question.
And I can look further into
No,
it.
no, I didn't put the two together, the
And so-
minus 68.25 that you're reflecting.
So is Isla's projecting that our interest income will increase with the interest rates going up? Or don't they do that?
No, they're being very conservative
Okay.
and projecting a lesser amount, but we can go line by line through it, that's what I was.
All right, why don't we
intending
do that, because,
And also, this summer, we're going to be paying our construction bills, so we're gonna have less money
in there.
to earn
Right,
interest.
exactly, especially in special
Thank
reserve.
you,
I did it all.
Okay, did I say it well?
Yes,
no,
you did.
that,
You can have the thunder.
Okay.
nope,
You didn't steal it.
that makes perfect sense. Okay. But I think, I have a couple other questions, but I'll wait till you go through everything.
Well, does the chair want us to go that route?
Why don't we do that, just so we're both fresh? I'm not that familiar with it.
We should have done that, probably, that's my bad, sorry.
It's okay.
That's okay.
We're gonna report you to the president.
On to item number 5, you can just walk through. Yes. Okay, so, with the draft working budget, we basically mirrored what we provided the board last year. The board seemed to appreciate having like an explanatory introductory document in front of the spreadsheets, and we'll go over each budget category. And then we added a couple of graphs just for some illustration. And just for everyone's knowledge, in creating this working budget, we receive budget requests from each department director for materials and equipment and technology, and then we put them all together. And we've been reaching out over the past quarter to vendors and to our financial advisors for estimates. And it just reminds us that this budget is a working budget. It's all about estimating forward to the fiscal year. So we provided the best estimation based on our vendors and based on our financial advisors and staff approximations. So again, this spreadsheet also has a projected actual column, and that was a board request from a couple of years ago. And then we have in that projected actual column, it gives us an idea of what will happen for the rest of this fiscal year. So again, an estimate for the next 3 months, as you've mentioned, Marjorie. And then the draft also shows the recorded expenditures through April 19th and revenues through March 31st. Now, for the May board meeting, we could have some updated numbers that go ahead of March 31st. But for now, for this draft, we have it through April 19th and March 31st. So we can walk through the categories now. Under employee costs, salaries and healthcare benefits represent the largest budgeted and actual expenditure in the corporate fund. And you can see how it breaks down in the little graph. The IMRF and FICA are separate funds, but they're placed here because they comprise the total of our employee costs. But overall, you can see that salaries are the largest portion of that pie graph. And the ILA standards say that salaries alone can comprise up to 60% of the budget, and the LLD shows that salaries comprise 51% of the total budgeted expenses. And then salaries plus benefits can comprise up to 70% per the standards, and our salaries plus benefits comprise 64% of the budgeted expenses. So we're well within the standards, we fit there quite comfortably, kind of somewhere in the middle. And the library employs currently 51 staff at this time, half of which qualify for health benefits. And our costs include performance increases, raises, and the minimum wage adjustment that will go into effect in 2025. And with all of that, the employee cost total line is basically flat. This is primarily due to restructuring some staffing, a few retirements that have occurred, and a reduction in IMRF expenditures due to being very well funded. So information for these cost estimates came via IMRF as well as Limerick and our risk agency, LIRA. So under the summary, we have a total budgeted employee cost showing a negligible decrease of 0.17%. So basically flat for employee costs, which I think is great. Under building costs, we have our utilities and maintenance contracts such as landscape and HVAC and non-contractual building repair work. And again, this line remains essentially flat. It shows an increase of 0.74%. And then under operating, this category includes postage, printing, banking fees, and processing. And that line also is basically flat, showing a decrease of 0.83%. And then moving on, under insurance, this line includes the notary bond, and we do that every 2 years for our notary, property damage insurance, and workers' compensation. And this category shows an increase per the recommendation of LIRA, our risk agency, and that's due to mostly cybersecurity insurance increases. And just a FYI on this estimate, this is a calendar year estimate, so it's January to December instead of our fiscal year, which is July through June. So this shows an increase of 7.79%. And then under contractual costs, this category includes attorney's fees, audits, investment agency fees, our outsourced IT services, and then our payroll. We're budgeting increases associated with upgrading and redesigning the LLD website, which we did not do last year. We budgeted for it, but we just didn't do it. You can see it in the last year's actuals. We are increasing IT cybersecurity and a potential outsourced hours connected to technology improvements with the renovation. We're budgeting this with a few unknowns regarding technology, but we're making sure we budget for it just in case we need it. We may not need it. So you see an increase of 12% there. And then under personnel development, this includes staff and trustee dues for ILA and ALA expenses, conference attendance, and continuing education and training and recognition costs. So we have an increase of 64% in this category, meaning that people are gonna go out and do some conferences. We've received requests for that. We have someone who's looking to take some classes, two sessions, each of which costs about $2,500. So that was a request. Under equipment costs, It includes the Polaris database, technology purchases, and minor furniture fixes and minor repairs. So a slight increase is proposed due to just inflation and Polaris, so you see an increase of 1.4%. And then under library materials, this includes all our physical materials, books. It includes all of our digital content and interlibrary loan costs, and this line remains essentially flat, an increase of 0.18%. Under programs, this includes all of our programs, community relations costs, and supplies for all those activities. And we anticipate increases in programming when our meeting rooms open up again, when we have a renovation, and then we're also planning for a fancy ribbon cutting once we complete our renovation. And you'll see an increase of 11% there. Contingency remains flat. And then under restricted, this basically includes our per capita grant expenditures, other grants, gifts. For the next fiscal, we're budgeting to expend the Lightzilla donation, so we have to budget for that expenditure, even though they were donations here. This category also shows the transfer from corporate to special reserves and the payment for the debt certificate in this category. So we see an increase of 65%, and that's mostly Lightzilla. And then under special reserve, these expenses include the capital improvement project and any supplementary facility enhancements. So this category budgets for the completion of the renovation project. It shows a decrease of 11% for that category. And then if you move into the next page, or the next page for me, the pie graph, it just shows all of our expenditures for 22-23. And you can see obviously our capital improvement project takes up the biggest piece of the pie there outside of employee costs. And it just breaks it down, it's just a visual. And then when we move to revenue, we look at the separate funds here as they increase or decrease due to primarily the levy in the revenue category and any interest earned or transfers in and out of funds. So under corporate, the tax levy revenues show a slight increase of 1.9%. The tax levy was increased using CPI last year per the renovation project plan. Personal property taxes increased significantly due to deadline extensions for homeowners. We found that out. So, and also our district population has increased from 28,005 to 30,002. And the EAV for our district has also risen approximately $14 million, and that all contributes to increased revenue for this line item. And then if you move into the negative side of things, our interest income has significantly decreased due to obviously the current financial climate. So our financial advisors have recommended a very conservative estimate for this line item. In the other income category, it includes desk income such as our license plate sticker renewal program and lost material fees. It also includes grant revenue. This category has increased 28.87% due to the budgeted increase in Illinois per capita funds and a potential fundraising gain for 22-23. Now, this is left open for discussion for the committee and another, if we wanted to go forward with another effort, there's just a plug-in number there. But we did budget something here if we wanted to talk about that. So in total, the category shows an increase of 0.95%. And then in IMRF, it shows a 2.49 decrease, primarily due to the decrease in the levy for this fund and a decrease in interest earned on the fund. We received advice from our financial advisor on this estimate. And just FYI, our fund is very healthy regardless of a decrease in revenue here. So you see, a 2.49% decrease, and then FICA is basically flat. And then when you move into special reserve, this shows a significant decrease due to the depletion of the fund for the revenue project and hence gaining less interest. And we are also transferring less money into this fund. And then we have a little chart showing the four funds, which clearly shows that our corporate fund receives the most revenue, and that's primarily from property taxes. So that's summary.
Couple of questions.
Sure.
What is the minimum wage gonna be? Does anybody know?
$15 in 2025.
15?
In 2025, yes.
So it's going up in steps?
Yes.
Okay. And I forgot to bring in, I got a letter that my ILA membership is up for renewal. Do you also get that letter?
We renew for the institution. We
Okay.
don't have individual, oh, you said ILA?
Yes.
Yes, we will renew yours.
Okay, so I don't need to bring you that letter? Okay. And then also one more thing. I think it's called Beanstack or Beanstalk that sets me up with the different books I can read, or recommendations. I will forward one to you.
Okay.
The only, and I'll send you this in an email, the only thing I wish is I wish it would let me pick audiobooks. As you know, it doesn't let you drill down that much, and unfortunately, I don't read physical books. And even though it sounds like these are great recommendations, it's only physical books. So if there's any way that it can expand its program. I realize you offer us a program that somebody else offers the library.
You mean the online platform for like Spring Read or something? Is that what you're talking about?
It's associated with Spring Read,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I can see Beth nodding. So somehow the two
Okay.
interrelate,
Okay.
but I don't know how.
Okay.
So it just would be nice.
Got it.
Any other comments?
I have a question. On page 12, the expense graph, I assume under special reserve consulting, does that include the CCS fee and also Sheehan Nagel?
Yes.
And we have no, I believe the CCS contract has been static, it's the same amount every month. Basically, it's about 7,500. When I do bills, I notice that.
Right.
And I see and can vary, correct? I mean, depending on how much time. So shouldn't that be in the budget?
It's in the renovation project as
And-
total.
Oh, it's in there.
Yes.
Okay.
So the project as a total was 7.7, and then we broke it down to 5.8 and 2.5, but we bundled it all into that bottom line renovation project.
Okay.
And then the consulting line at the top that you see that has nothing in there would be
Yeah.
for anything additional outside of that we're planning
Okay.
to do.
Does it make sense to have a separate line item?
For CCS and,
And Sheehan, I mean, I'm just asking, I'm not
Break it
saying
out from
it's something that
renovation
I would like. I just, because I mean, so, that leads to another question. How long does CCS's contract run? Till we open up, grand opening?
Through the project, and we have a contract with them, which I can't off the top of my
Okay.
head generate.
Just curious to see how long that will carry over into the next budget. You know what I'm saying? So I understand it's projected, because if we really don't know how long that contract is going to run, like,
I
How-
think there was a not to exceed number for the
Okay.
contract, but I would have
Okay.
to pull that contract.
no, that makes sense.
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that.
And
that's-
remember, I mean, this is the working budget, we will also have the B&A that will
Okay.
allow us that flexibility.
And I forget about that, so, let me see if there's anything else.
But I can follow up with more detail in an email.
Okay, no, that's
For everybody.
great. I think that's it.
I personally think you've done an incredible job of keeping everything flat or decreasing each of these line items.
What we can.
Yeah.
I think it's really great how you brought in marketing talent, and that we're having more postings on Facebook and more dynamic postings. And I don't think before you came aboard, and I I think you came aboard about the time that I joined the board. But I know that those were not there before you came aboard. So I'm not sure how you accomplished that, but somehow how the staff was retiring, you brought on people that had those special skills. So I appreciate that.
As an aside, my daughter Emily does the social network issues for Villa St. Benedict. And she mentioned that the Naperville Library is pretty innovative in what they do. I haven't seen what she has been looking at, but I don't know, our people look at other libraries. But she specifically mentioned Naperville has some pretty dynamic type promotions or whatever they're doing. I don't know what, I don't do that sort of stuff, but she does. And she just mentioned as an aside that they're doing a tremendous job there, so guess we can plagiarize off of them maybe, or just
We
just follow
share,
what they do, yeah.
all the libraries share, it's a very close-knit community, and our marketing specialist and our graphics specialist, they are in like email groups with other libraries, and they share and
Yeah.
help each other.
I don't know what Naperville's doing differently, but it caught Emily's eye.
Does the board, so I did have a question for the committee. So in the category where there was a plug-in number for potential revenue for another fundraising effort, there was I think a $5,000 plug. I don't,
What page is that on?
let me find it.
13?
13, yes,
13?
yes.
Thank you.
So this was just a ballpark number under gifts unrestricted, plugging in a $5,000 effort. For the Lightzilla, we had a $15,000 effort, and who knows what the Advocacy and Outreach Committee wants to go forward with, but this was just a kind of a modest amount.
I'll speak for what my perspective is, and Lorna is on that committee as well. I would like to have a committee meeting soon, and I would like to talk about either potentially approaching businesses or determining if we want to do a second round of fundraising to patrons, and hear everybody's opinion on that. Or other ideas. I mean, maybe we approach certain foundations that we haven't talked about. And I know, Tatiana, you said that you were writing, some of your folks were writing particular grants and have even been awarded particular grants. So I think a brainstorming meeting might be appropriate. And I think having a placeholder is a good idea.
Okay, so $5,000 seems reasonable.
Yeah, without any discussion, a placeholder like that amount makes sense to me. And then obviously refining through your next committee discussion, then
I
it
think
can be
it's
updated.
way low.
How
Conservative,
did you know that?
How did you know
How
that?
did we know that?
modest.
Yes, I mean, because remember next year when we look at this, if we put in like $100,000, we can see a huge decrease
Right.
from budget to budget,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I think 5,000 is a really good, reasonable
And
amount.
if we came up with a great idea and we needed to increase the B&A in this budget line, we could say, yes, we're looking at this amount.
Right, I
And
don't
this is
think,
revenue though.
I don't think we'll be short of ideas to use donated money for.
I agree with that. I think it's a great idea to have a committee meeting.
Yeah, I think, this is a really good time to have it.
And do we like the, just on the formatting, do we like the formatting, do we like the graphs, do we think they're not necessary? Do we
like
want
the
more, do we want less?
I like the graphs.
Visuals, yeah, visuals.
The
And the
graphs-
formatting.
Yeah, the graphs, I think, tell a story.
Mhm.
I really like them.
There's not a lot, there's just 3, but. Okay.
And I think the other part, it's something you have to slog through. I mean, to get, you need to go through that much detail. There's no other way.
A question, Tatiana, are we going to use, at the Personnel and Policy Committee meeting, you presented a salary, study? Was that taken into consideration
Yes.
in the budget? I
Yes.
assume so.
It does, and that's why we were able to basically keep the employee costs at the level that we could. We are with everything, including the minimum wage increase, basically keeping it pretty flat. So we're budgeting for a minimum wage increase. We are budgeting for, and all cases, let's say everyone gets a raise. So that's what you budget for, and that everyone's working, because people who are part-time, they don't get paid salary. So we're just budgeting for everybody works every single day of the year, and that everyone's getting a raise. That's our cap, and we're still keeping it flat. So for this committee's knowledge, the Personnel Policy Committee is going to walk through a salary study that the staff are conducting using HR Source.
Okay.
So we will look at job descriptions and make sure that they match what they're doing, and then also through evaluations, see where people line up in terms of the budget. But we are budgeting for everyone. That's how we do it every year. Everyone gets a raise, everyone works every single day of the year. You can see it years past that we never make that budget amount, and in every category, we come in under budget, but we budget for that amount so that we have those funds available.
No, I thought the salary study was very informative, that's why I asked that, and the committee, Chairman Sustak's going to share that with all of us, correct? One more question. When Trustee Sullivan asked about the minimum wage, and you said 2025, it'll be $15, is there, I don't know much about how that's laddered. Every year, do they raise it to a certain number?
Yes, every year, the board has approved of that lowest salary category.
Okay.
A higher amount than everyone else. So every year, the salary scale, I'm speaking in general terms, every year the total salary scale moves about 2%. That's general. The lowest category has moved either 8% or 7% or 10% to maybe $1 more a year to align with the goal in 2025. So the salary study that we're doing this year is going to readjust everybody so that if the page category is here and then the associate category is here, that they're not super close, because you don't want one category making almost the same amount as the next category. So we need to adjust them. And it's really the last couple of pay rates that need to be adjusted. So that's what the salary scale will do.
Okay.
And again, all of that built in, we're still basically flat year to year. And a lot of that, again, is due to staff restructuring. We had a couple retirements, things like that.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have any big questions. I have like minutia questions. So I was saving them for when we've covered any bigger ticket questions. Okay, ready for minutia?
Yes.
I mean, really, I'll start with the smallest question that I've got just to prove my point. On page 13, I should know this, I suppose, because it's hit our actuals, but miscellaneous jury duty, $44.44. I don't know what that is, and I was curious.
We receive the check for the person who gets the check at jury duty at the library. It's part of the.
Because we
Still
are
not
paying
clicking.
them their regular,
We pay
salary.
them their
Oh,
salary
okay.
to attend.
Okay,
their civic duty,
so
and
it's
then we
just
receive the check.
it's just a line item reclass, because you're really paying it elsewhere, it's like an in and an out, is that what we're saying?
No, we don't, and I think all government agencies will do this. If I go out on jury duty, I'm still getting my regular salary, they'll send me a check, I turn it over to the
Yeah.
library. So it's not, so yes, it's,
You're
'Cause
paid
you're
for
still-
doing your civic duty, and then the organization gets paid the amount from the state.
So is that for one day? I mean,
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cause it's such an odd
It's
amount,
one day.
$44.
How they figure.
I think it was
that.
actually 2 days.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Whoa. I
Uh,
thought it was one day.
Big money.
Some organizations allow their employees to keep that.
I think private, like,
My former firm did, and I don't know if
I
that's,
think there was some legislation that passed
Okay.
that thought it was not.
yeah, I have no idea how that works.
well,
I think it's,
certainly government structures, they
Oh,
require
okay.
the reimbursement.
okay.
I think other agencies,
I mean, it's just a little
other
bonus to me
companies,
there, you know, you went out of your way to,
Right. yeah.
a lot of people make excuses why they can't go.
Right.
Okay,
The next one is just, I wanna be sure that I know this correctly. Just after all the expenses and revenues are discussed, just the overall totals.
we page 15?
Yeah, basically at page 15, which do come from the, no, I think I'm gonna withdraw that question, cause it's total revenues for the year, fiscal year, right, as shown. So like, for example, total revenues budgeted for the upcoming year, 4.215. Yes, no, is that correct?
Where's that number? 4.2?
The very last
Yes.
number there on page
Okay.
15, okay. Just making sure,
On 15.
215, I thought I heard 295, thank you.
I was trying for more,
No, I can't hear it, so.
okay. Cause it's broken out first and then summarized, that's, so 15 is just a shrinking of the subtotals.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, that's all I wanted to, double check on that.
Go ahead, Jen.
It's okay, my next one was just sort of pivoting off of what you talked about earlier with your thoughts on special reserve categories. I don't know if you got your question answered there, you were thinking it would be beneficial to see that broken out further. I mean, I know it's nice.
For me, but if it's just for one
My
one
question
trustee.
related to that is, are these aligned with what the special reserve ordinance says? Are those these line items under special reserve, is that what the categories are that are in the ordinance? And if we were to update these, would we really be talking about updating the ordinance?
No, the categories are broad in the ordinance. And this is a document that just talks about how we're expending those ordinance categories. And in total, the ordinance talks about like a capital project, and that's why we included a renovation project line. And that's everything in that project. Everything above it is outside of the project that we've approved of, or the board has approved of.
Yeah.
So making an extra line for CCS, it would be, we're like extracting something from that lower line for some reason. But if the board wants to see any invoices or a summary of the invoices, because you have questions about it, we can provide them for you.
No, I think you answered my question. Thank you, Jenny, for reinterpreting. I never asked the right question. But if the committee's happy with that, I'm,
It's always a cost benefit. It's, more information equals smaller print or more pages and more time
Exactly.
versus, but then more, I don't know, educational value, if you will. So it's really a trade-off, and I just wanted to, I wanted to know if there was a linkage to the ordinance, and it sounds like no, so it wouldn't be an arm and a leg to update that if we thought it was of value to the group. But I think I'm personally comfortable with an all-in lump, because it aligns with our total project budget, and we do get a detailed summary from CCS showing the comparison month to month of actuals to date and expected. So I think through that we're getting that level of detail already and don't need to kind of clutter up the working budget with it.
okay.
So I'm on page 12. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's broken into, and I'm under special reserve, and it's broken into consulting. And I know CCS is in there. What else is in there? I mean,
The architects
Yeah, I
and
mentioned it.
any other consultants related to, again, broad category, any other, but this was Are you looking at a particular number, like that 194? That's last year's number.
Okay.
But in the renovation project line, that bottom line there, that includes the architects, CCS, everything related to the project, because in total, that line will add up to $7.7 million.
Or less.
In the end, yeah, or less,
Or
but that's budget,
So,
not actual.
I'm torn because I like detail, but if we have to explode renovation project expense into, 7 different items, then I think we're getting too many items on here.
That would be like a sub, because we have a budget line for the renovation project, and we all are aware that it's a $7.7 million budget. Everything associated with that project is in that line. And, month to month is, as Trustee Norton mentioned, that we get detail in every board packet. This is really just the working budget for the public to understand how we're expending our funds per fund, per line.
That's where I got hung up too, Liz, is that.
Right.
You have to remember this is the budget and not the monthly
Right.
reports.
So, although I like detail, so I understand your point,
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying in rolling it up because it is a budget and what you're saying, and it is detailed in our monthly packets. So I'm okay leaving it, in one item, renovation project expense.
So we're saying it's in the professional service costs.
Well, what
It
I'm saying is
I'm
it's,
looking at last month's budget, or last month's packet.
The board packet.
Yeah, so it does say
Board packet,
professional
that's-
service costs.
okay, I didn't bring my,
What page are you on? I
got
share with
30.
Liz. 30?
30.
Go ahead.
Okay.
That's why I had that question. It just, I'm torn. Don't mind my
Maybe we
notes.
should be asking
oh,
for
no,
it,
no, no.
maybe we should be asking for it here, in this
Right.
breakdown between the different consulting groups, rather than in our working budget. See the E 300,
Yeah,
which is soft costs?
okay, so leaving this one on page 12 alone and looking at professional service costs on
You have-
page 30.
Okay, and you have footnotes.
So, and I realize you probably don't have this packet, Tatiana.
Would you have,
I mean, I understand what you're saying,
Okay.
you want more detail in the CCS report
Well-
regarding consultants?
Well, we say maybe it's a more appropriate place to have it.
I guess what I'm saying is, you kicked this off, so.
I know, and.
It's
and-
all your
and I'm-
fault.
And I'm,
What are your concerns?
That they're lumping together professional service costs, which includes CCS and the architect.
and I don't know why I have a concern about that. It's just that I didn't understand, we have nothing, what prompted it was we have nothing in consulting. And to me, consulting is CCS, because I know that they're an owner's rep, I understand that, but, so that was my basic question.
Okay, I can relay that to Mark, and then he can maybe adjust his report.
But in the scheme of things, does it matter?
Well,
Is it just,
is that gonna make, if that makes things more clear, why not?
well,
We can try it for a bit, and if it's not of any
I don't
consequence
know
to us,
that
then we can just
it,
drop it.
now that it's explained, I'm happy with the fact that it's in the renovation project expenses, because that truly is what it is.
See-
Would you agree with that?
Well, I'm okay with this because it is our budget.
Right.
But if it's possible, I think it would be additional information that would be good to have,
I can't see that.
to be,
Under professional service costs?
yeah, if
Okay.
there was a way to break that into, like CCS and
Sheehan?
Sheehan, and I don't know if the contract management company, is that what you call them?
Come-
That's construction cost.
That's construction, well, maybe.
Not consultants, but we,
Yeah,
If it's a lot of work, maybe it'd be inappropriate to ask him. If it's something that he's adding together to get that number,
It's probably rolling up.
if it's rolling up anyway, maybe he could just break it out.
I think that's good.
Would that be okay with everybody?
yeah, that's fine. Then another question comes from that, the not to exceed amount for CCS. When do we hit that? Because my thought is, and I'm very basic when it comes to math, I'm not an accountant or a CPA. That would tell me in the budget where that expense ends. Does that matter? I don't know, but, so let's say, well, of course, that would be the following, not this coming budget, it would be the following year's budget. Because I would imagine that you will,
It will be next year's budget,
oh, some of it, but,
all of it.
no, I
22,
understand,
23.
but, so then we will be done, the not to exceed amount will come when?
When the project's over. So if you
Okay.
think about the project at 7.7 million, CCS has built in their costs, Kamosi's costs, Sheehan-Nagel's costs into that 7.7 million.
But then the following year's budget, there will be nothing in that line item as far as renovation costs and consulting.
The project will be completed, but if the board, let's just devil's advocate, the board had another project in mind, we would build in costs that I don't have my page open, but on page 14, I think, has consulting and projects. If the board wanted to build in another project, that's where it would go for the next fiscal year.
Okay. I think I know what I'm asking.
I got more minutia if anybody wants to hear it. Oh, it's great, you guys are so enthusiastic. So,
Thanks for that.
just headers, so I understand that the working budget shows expenses and then revenues, but the expenses has a
Yeah.
header that says
You know, I
expense
noticed
draft
that.
and then the revenues
Yes.
doesn't, and
We need
then the first page of each, like the first one says expenses in the second column, and then it's kinda quiet
Yes.
there, and
I agree.
then revenue, so I'm just, kinda nerdy like that, or lazy. I really, on each individual page, I wanna not get
I am
lost.
in complete agreement with you, and I noticed that too. We will- And there's one cell that is missing a bold line in one of these two, on one page, which got me.
Now it's Where's Waldo, I gotta find it.
Yeah, it's on page 9.
All
We're
right.
missing a bold line.
And a curiosity question, this is sort of the last one I had handy in my head. For personnel development, what is put forth in this working budget? Is it all of the requests from staff or only what the department heads have recommended after staff feedback?
I was gonna ask that. Thank you.
All right,
It is, we have put in everything, I mean, all of the department heads give me their requests and then I mull over it, I talk about it with administration, what is doable, what is affordable. And in personnel development, we have, the conference attendance, Beth, how many do you remember people are looking for in terms of going conferences, like ALA?
ALA next year, June is in Chicago, so all of our librarians will at least go one day,
I'm not sure all,
but pretty
a
close.
hand,
Well, take advantage of it being
Yeah,
in
the
Chicago.
location.
Right, it's
Sure.
3 or 4 days. If we work it right by schedule, everyone should be able to go a day.
and then we have, anticipated memorials and recognitions, if we've done flowers for memorial service, and then a request for the continuing education. It was one staff member requesting 2 librarian courses, each of which is a semester that costs about $2,500 each, so it's $5,000 in there. We haven't done continuing education like that since I've been director. So this was one opportunity where we saw a lot of merit in pushing someone forward with that.
That brings up a question. Before COVID, trustees used to go to ILA. And of course, COVID stopped all that. Is there any money in the budget for trustees to
There is,
attend?
yeah.
Okay,
I think it's at the Rosemont Horizon this
Okay.
fall.
And we don't have dollars yet for that, we just
okay.
guessed from prior years.
Yeah, the budget is flat and it looks like actuals have left a lot of room.
Oh, yeah.
Jenny and Lorna, I don't know if you're aware, but what we've done in the past, and I think the procedure is you turn it in the month before and you get board approval to attend. And I don't remember.
And then
if
you
it-
bring your homework back for show and tell.
Oh, that's right.
I do
Okay.
remember.
You do remember, okay.
Not as
Yeah.
young as I used to be, but thank you.
Yeah, you make a little present, you pick something that you learned and you present it to the rest of the board. Not heavy duty, big deal, but just something.
No, I mean, unless I get a new little nugget from anybody else's comments and questions, but those were basically it. I mean, I think it's, my lack of questions either speaks to my lack of preparation or everyone else's great preparation, because I don't have much else. There wasn't anything that confused me, there wasn't anything that, it's reasonable. It's following all the standards and conservatism that we're used to.
I don't think there's anything outrageous here. And again, we have a project plan in terms of our renovation, which we're just on that track.
Yeah.
Moving forward with that.
Yeah, I guess, just if you could add any color to, did COVID give you any shaping to any of these line items? Did you say, lessons learned and things like that? Was there anything, probably not material, but anything that shaped any of the budget?
I don't know about lessons learned, but definitely shaped the budget in terms of allowing for more conference attendance, more programming, obviously providing a little more increase, and then the renovation outside of COVID, planning for a large ribbon cutting and things like that. So minor increases in those lines. Outside of that, COVID did, I guess in general, when you look at the year to year, you can see the big fluctuations in terms of monies used in one year versus this year. So some of those big percentage ups and downs that show the actual too can be related to COVID in terms of what we budgeted for and then what we didn't use. Even the website upgrade there was a bit of effect there from COVID because the person who is designing our website was unavailable, and so we just didn't move forward in that direction. We like to meet in person, we like to talk about what we'd like to see, and we just moved it over to the next fiscal year, so. A lot of delay.
Yeah, it's all right. Sometimes that's the way you have to play it to keep things on track.
Any other questions? No. So I guess I can have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Well, that was a question, not a directive? Okay, second.
I don't think they can. Okay,
Any discussion? That's not my line, but,
any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so we adjourn at 2:55?